Welcome to the Very Melon Podcast!
Hi, I'm Nick.
I'm James.
You gotta introduce me, I'm a guest.
And then this is Dai Senpai with us, the resident expert on Katanagatari, which is the show we're talking about today.
There's also Cameron in the background.
Eat
He's
noodles.
eating noodles out of a saucepan.
Like a fucking heathen.
Dave's spirit.
Spirit of Dave. Spirit
We
of
don't have any
Black,
spirit, Dave.
Yeah.
Oh,
God damn it!
Fucking doorbell was going well as well.
How did you like Katanagatari,
I
Miles?
really like Katanagatari. This is my,
Well, it's
my
one of your-
second watch.
Yeah, you own the a light novel.
I own one light novel.
Uh-huh.
It's pretty good. I've read like 100 words of it so far.
100
100 words? 100 pages.
That
makes a lot more sense.
They're quite short, right? That's
Yeah.
like most of it.
No, there's a lot.
Well,
Hi, Hannah.
Anna's now arrived as well.
The short one's arrived.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's
Hannah.
my nickname.
The short one.
I thought Jenna was the short one. She's the Irish one.
What?
Jenna's the Irish one.
Jenna's the Irish. That's her. Yeah.
Jenna's the Irish one now.
Okay, let's talk about Katanagatari.
We just finished Katanagati. It's a very good anime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you give it out of 10?
Give it a 9 out of 10 because 8 out of 10 don't exist.
I'd give it an 8 because 8s do exist.
8 is not a number.
I'd give it a 9 out of 10 because I think it deserves it. 8s also exist, but it doesn't deserve one of those because it's better than that.
It is good. It's a heavy 8. It's a heavy 8, like a big fat 8.
8.5.
Fat lady, in fact.
Cool.
Yeah.
8.5. Well, you think the thing is, everyone can always subdivide their scores, and that is fundamentally wrong. Because that means you will just have infinite amount of scores. It's bad.
Why? Why is that? This is not.
It's just wrong. You can't do that. People always like, oh, it's an 8.5, it's an 8.75. Like, no. That's wrong. That's bad. We don't want that.
How do you like Katanagatari though?
It's 9.
I give it
It's
two
good.
fat ladies, 88 out of 100.
Yeah, that's not bad score.
That's
As long
quite
as we're
high.
rounding down
Rounding
to an
down.
8. Because I gave it an 8.
You didn't. 8's
I didn't give it an
Technically, you
8.
give it a 9,
I
so
give
it
it a
rounds
heavy
up to a 9. Heavy 8 rounds up to a 9.
That's true.
No, a heavy 8
Because
rounding
8
down
doesn't
to an 8.
exist.
If it was a light 9,
8 isn't a number. 8 is not a number.
Okay.
Have you ever seen 8 things?
So, Katanagatari was it's like almost like a stunt light novel made by Nishio-san, who's one of the most famous light novel authors, known for his kind of avant-garde writing style. Other stuff he's done, obviously, he's done the Bakemonogatari series and Co.
He did Kubikui Cycle, and he did...
Medaka books.
He did those.
One of my
one.
favourite manga.
He didn't do anything else.
That's it.
all he's ever done.
The extent.
So,
He did actually do a JoJo fanfic that's,
Oh,
I think,
disgusting.
official.
Oh, Jesus Christ! I didn't like him in the first place. So, there you go. So yeah. He so the idea was he wrote a whole novel every month for an entire year, and he created this series.
It's a story about collecting swords.
So,
As the name
it's a
suggests.
Katanagatari.
Gatari.
Yeah.
And the idea is that an old man, whose name is Kiki,
Shikizaki Kiki.
Shikizaki Kiki, he made all these swords, and he made this progression of swords across time, when each sword was a successive better one to the previous one, trying to improve upon the art of making swords.
He made 1,000 swords for the
At
sake
one
of the
point.
final 12 swords that he made.
Yeah, that's quite.
And the series comes down to kind of a fetch quest, basically, of find a sword every episode, fight the baddie, take the sword.
Yeah, but are they really baddies? That's the question. There's always the moral question in each of these ones, especially in episode 3. We're not going to ignore spoilers, just assume we've watched this already.
If you haven't, go watch it.
Go watch it quickly,
Or
12 hours long, and come back
That's
to our
fine.
You don't
podcast.
have to watch it.
You do.
There's nothing
Or
wrong
read
with
the light
having a...
novels released by
nothing wrong with
Vertical.
having
They're available in the West now, but only 2
Yeah.
of them, I think.
Just Google Katanagatari online free. They'll be right there.
There's nothing wrong with having things spoiled.
Bad.
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 Bad. Good.
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 Good. Bad.
Good.
Who knows?
Good.
Okay, so the best way to tackle this is like episode by episode, right?
Yeah, so we're going to start with the episode, go through each of the swords and see how the plot develops, how the characters develop. Episode 1 starts quite slowly. I'd say episode 1 in some ways isn't as strong as the past ones, especially in terms of the comedy doesn't always hit in the same way. Which is I guess it links into the idea that the protagonists, Shichika and Togame, haven't really developed their relationship yet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to perhaps expand on what you've said, I'd say that Katanagatari is not just a story about collecting swords. I'd say it's disguised as a story about collecting swords, but it's really a love story in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's an important theme within the story.
Yeah.
And the awkwardness that they have with each other at the beginning is definitely there, which is an important aspect of it. But I feel like some of the jokes just don't hit, even if it's not within the confines of the story.
Well, Shichika at the beginning is, he's been stuck on this island with only his sister for his entire life, and he's like 20, 25 or something.
25, I think.
So he doesn't have much of a dynamic personality. This is not his social skills don't exist.
He's also from a very Mendoxea position. He doesn't really care about anything because he's only ever seen his sister and his father on this island. That's all he's ever met, and in the beginning you can't even recognise he's a fellow human.
That's true. He can't recognise the differences between human faces because he's only ever been around 2 other humans in his life. Although for that he seems to deal with it quite well.
Yeah, he has a lot of wits. I mean, you get a lot of wits out of doing martial arts. You get that kind of you find yourself, you find your position, you find your bearings, and you're able to be quite a rational person just from
But
studying
he almost has nothing but the martial arts. His entire life was kind of learning his family's special martial arts, or
Kyotoryu.
Kyotoryu,
which is the sword martial arts, but
The
without
empty
any
sword.
The empty sword.
because he is the sword. That's the premise of the show, is that
He is a boy who is sword.
my boy Kiki keeps making these swords, and we meet one each episode, and he is the final product of this.
Spoilers, he is the final sword.
He is the final sword. But they hinted it throughout the show. It's not like the hugest of huge reveals, because you kind of get a feel for... Oh. The short one has had its spoiled to her.
Watch it anyway.
Oh well.
Well, do watch it, because you can still watch things after it's had its spoiled for you.
So episode 1, he finds a weird ninja guy who eats swords
And he
kills
kills
him.
Well, he had the
Because
special
it's
ability where he
sword.
could grind his joints into just looking different. They all have this kind of magic ability, the Maniwani, who are these band of assassins who go after the swords, who were previously associated with Togame but felt betrayed by her, and they just went their own way. And at each point of the story, they're trying to sabotage their plans and try to win the swords back for themselves.
Or trying to work with Togame in some
With
cases.
the ultimate aim of taking them back for themselves. They want the
Because
swords.
this version of Japan is kind of post like Sengoku era. It's kind of more stable, but there's still like factions and ninjas run around. You know.
Yeah, probably worth it to start at the beginning with the timeline, with Shikizaki Kiki's falsifying history.
That bit's confusing.
It is confusing. He's
I feel
basically
like you
trying
need
to
the
do
context
something,
of the
it's just
show to do
failed.
that.
Yeah.
What was in episode 2?
Episode 2? Oh, that's the one where they go to the lovely building and fight the Ronin, who has
Oh
a
yeah,
sword
they
that
go
can
they
draw
go
the speed of
to
light.
they go to Tottori and fight. It's now a desert.
Yep.
Totteri's on a desert already.
Is it?
The dunes of Tottori, yeah.
I didn't
A lot
know
of
that.
like sand wave duning goes on in
Fight.
Tottori.
A guy who's just a samurai guy.
Yeah, but he's got
guy.
the sharpest sword that can cut through anything. So
We didn't
the
mention the
first
previous sword.
we did not mention the previous
Yeah.
sword. The previous sword could not break.
Mm.
And that was its gimmick, is that you can't break the previous sword. And the problem with the sword you can't break is that it can't cut through everything. So it's not perfect. My boy Kiki trying to make the perfect sword, doing all these iterations bit by bit. Second sword can cut through anything. However, the practitioner who practiced EI, where you draw it out of your sheath at lightning breakneck speeds, a sword which you're not even able to see because the blade is so sharp. The problem with this sword is that it can still be broken because it can't retain the values of the last one.
Well, more than that, it can be lost. That's the important part.
Yes. You can
Also,
be
apparently you
disarmed.
you can't draw straight above you, apparently. That's a thing. Who knew?
That was the gimmick. A lot of the battles in Katanagatari are based on gimmicks. They're not like exceptional fight scenes a lot of the time. But the way in which
some
they
exceptions.
animate the
There are
gimmicks.
some great.
Good fights.
There are some great fights.
There's some very good fights.
A lot of them end up to be just, haha, you didn't think of this. He's like, no, my Keikaku, and he dies.
But
happens
the
a
way
lot
in
of the
which to beat a sword wielder when you're not wielding a sword yourself is to have a plan against it. I mean, the entire basis of Kyoto Ryu, which is the final iteration of this process of making more and more swords, is the human mind being the ultimate flexible weapon against a sword.
Mm-hmm.
He is the organic noose who is able to
Well,
take it down.
yeah. Well, Togami and Shichika kind of work as the duo of the mind and the
Brain and bone.
brain and the brawn. And that's that kind of dynamic. So
But at the same time, they always pick each other out at what they do best. So Shichika is able to get call Togami out when she's pretending to be smart because he's a martial artist. He's very based in the world. He's very he has that kind of oneness where he's able to reflect on things very cognizantly. And he's often able to call Shichika out when she's clearly posturing and not actually that smart or understand what's going on.
mm-hmm.
But love blossoms between the two throughout the show.
I mean, yeah. The idea is that they kind of both reflect on each other.
Beat Link.
Nice.
Well done, Cameron.
Thanks, Cameron.
Beat Link in Smash. Well done.
Anyway.
What was I saying? Episode 3. What was on
Yeah.
episode 3?
That's the one with the bandit lady who's running a temple.
Oh yeah,
Mm.
this is the one where it starts kind of hinting at how the swords aren't really
The sort of
The
bullshit.
swords, like sword as a concept,
Yeah.
is kind of being twisted a bit here.
The
There's
purpose
1,000
is
swords.
1,000 swords.
They're everywhere, and it somehow every sword finds its master. Is one of the ideas of the show is that the sword and the master, their techniques and how they attack go hand in hand. So the third gym leader essentially, she has this sword style where she picks up swords and throws them and uses people's swords against them.
They're
So
fundamentally disposable.
fundamentally disposable, and you don't have any sword which you can call your own in that style, which is interesting.
But you can't be disarmed. That's the key.
The key is you can't be disarmed, because that was one of the main problems with the previous sword, so they're trying to iterate on each model, make a better version of the past one.
So do you think that each sword is kind of correcting the problems of the previous sword?
Yes.
Is that the idea?
Yeah.
I found this on a forum. I don't know if I could find it again, but it's a solid theory and I like it. I told Nick.
That makes sense.
Makes a lot of
Makes
sense. So the idea is it all culminates in the epitome, which is man, being the ultimate sword.
I see. That makes sense. There you go. So the real sword was no sword.
The sword is in your
The sword
heart,
was inside you
man.
all along.
But I think that's the same as the 10th sword, though. So.
Kinda, yeah.
So then you get on to the third sword, and the third sword, there's 1,000 of them, so you can keep throwing them everywhere, which is really cool. However, these swords aren't that good still, and
Doesn't rely on any kind of technique or skill in the practitioner. You can't assume it just because they have a sword that they're going to be a good fighter.
because the aim is to have the perfect sword, say anyone can use this sword, and whoever picks it up will be able to beat anyone, and that would be the perfect sword. So this starts to get to the idea of the sword and the practitioner, and this interdependence. It's kind of like a mother and child, the mother trying to wave around their child like as a weapon in the world. No. And it kind of is that kind of relationship where the sword is one's eyeball. You've got to wield the sword and learn how to use the sword, and that some people aren't worthy to wield such a sword. Say maybe the shogun gets all of the swords, but they're not skilled enough to use it, and their abilities will be wasted upon them.
How is that a mother and child dynamic?
It
More of a
is.
master and the tool dynamic.
In a lot of ways, yes.
Yes, but let's just say it's much more closely to the heart. It's much more.
Katanagatari is about the tool sort of transcending its status and no longer needing the wield.
It's a Marxist interpretation of Katanagatari, wherein it's the Hegelian master-slave dynamic.
There is a bit of that in there. At the end, they do kind of just overthrow the existing system because it's fucking everything up.
Well, the tools
But
become
it doesn't do anything.
the
It
tools
does.
become the
It's the problem.
masters.
Yep.
Because when the ultimate weapon, the ultimate sword, is a person, then they're at equal status.
Episode 4.
Episode 4. So this is where we're going with
The
this.
tease.
Yeah, nothing happens in episode. Well, episode 4 is really good,
Oh, yeah.
but you don't see the battle. That's the main thing. Episode 4 is one of my favourites. The battle itself is the dude has a glass sword that can smash easily because it's made of glass. So you have to have the perfect wielder of the sword to do it. However, it's also really brittle. So it's not actually the best gatekeeping. It's the 4-channel swords.
It's still going to be wielded by a man. A man can die.
Disarmed.
It's true.
It's not perfect. But I think it's worse than the last
No,
one.
but
in
if
many
well,
respects.
if the swordsman is a perfect swordsman and he can swing it perfectly, then it's unstoppable and unbreakable. So
Except against
that's his
ranged
power.
weapons. Bows?
Well, I didn't really have.
Well,
we're getting to
um,
that. The 5th one. This is the
Well,
one that.
Whoa.
more things happen in episode.
Yeah,
there's more things
In
to happen.
fact, that doesn't even happen in episode 4.
Yeah,
which
that's
is
happens
implied.
How many
in the episode 4
3?
preview.
Yeah, that is implied and kind of.
It's funny. It's a
It
nice
is.
tongue-in-cheek joke.
The Irish one was very offended by this and stopped watching. Not that Irish one.
Oh,
The Irish.
the Irish one. Yes.
Wait, was offended by the fact you didn't get to see the fight?
She
Yeah.
watched up to episode 4 and then she was like, this is bullshit, and just left.
And never watched any more of it.
It is kind of bullshit.
Back for
The entire show is kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
And it likes being bullshit.
It
But
does.
that's just
Rebels
Nisio
Rebels.
That's just Nisio
Yeah.
likes being an edgy motherfucker.
He does,
But he's often kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
But that's his style.
If you like bullshit, you'll like Nisio.
He has that kind of postmodern avant-garde kind of take on all of this stuff, and that's interesting to watch.
It's interesting.
It's very
It's
fun.
Sometimes.
cerebral, but sometimes it can be boring, but it's always cerebral.
It'll make you think, even if it makes you fall asleep.
Yep. Episode 4 is also when we have the insect trio. I love
Oh.
the insect trio.
My boys,
They set off every death flag. It was just a very, very funny episode. But
I'm getting
Nevertheless.
married and I'm retiring, and also hold these cigarettes for me, I'll be back.
it was perfect. But they did all die.
They did.
And it was still very emotional when they died, even though they set off all the death flags. And it was almost comedic in that.
I don't think one big problem I had with the show was that the Maniwani are kind of not barely characters and all kind of shit and arrive and always die within like 10 minutes and don't actually
The guy in episode
ever
3 just
pose a
shows up,
threat.
swings chains around, and then just gets wrecked. The guy in episode 2, he shows up in the light novel. You find out that he's got a technique that even the other Maniwa heads are jealous of, and they respect him for it. He just gets sliced in half and he's dead. He never does anything. He speaks backwards. He's annoying. And that's it.
But he was just trying to be interesting.
Yeah.
And that's what, and that was,
And
that's
isn't
a
that
very
the
interesting
core
thing
of the
about
show?
Togame is that
You've gotta be
she's
interesting.
always driving for more, she's always trying to be more than herself, but that kind of endless struggle not only is her downfall, but also just leaves her perpetually dissatisfied.
But I do feel sometimes that the character development given to the Maniwani could have been given to the main characters or some of the much more interesting sword wielders who often don't do much, even though they do seem quite interesting.
They always, but the Maniwani also have interesting personalities. I feel like it gets at that point gets better in the latter half of the show when they show you the whole crowd and you see them all interacting with each other, and especially Hero gets quite a lot of character development.
I'll talk about it later. But,
When she just
I'm not a fan
stops
of the Maniwani.
killing everyone that he encounters.
Yeah, well, the Maniwani have that kind. It's almost tongue in cheek the way in which the Maniwani are portrayed. It's a bit of it's very mysterious.
But every single time you think they're gonna do something impressive, because they think like they're planning something, they do something cool. You're like, whoa, maybe they're gonna do something, but they just don't ever actually amount to anything.
Circumstances conspire and they get fucked up.
Literally every single time. Like,
Yep.
what was the climax of them? They just kind of all died.
Yeah, I suppose.
They were just trying to keep themselves alive, even though they weren't needed or wanted in this world, and they just died.
They had their own aims, but they failed to achieve them.
Yeah, in a big way, yes. But that's, again, kind of the theme of the show.
Don't you think that it was just Nisio writing stuff into his books as cool-looking characters, and then not knowing what to do with them, and then not pulling them into his story?
Work is all masturbatory.
Yes.
Well,
It
especially
is.
this one. This one has no foreplanning because it couldn't have.
No.
He didn't know what was going to happen in the next book. So anything that it's almost like a not zero sum. It's like when you see the stage and everything just goes on from there.
It's just
There's no foreplanning.
Hmm.
It's a lot of it's improv, and you can kind of tell with a lot of the characters and a lot of like the little arcs they do, they just don't really go anywhere, and they kind of just like someone dies and then that's the end.
Yep.
Or
They're gone. End of.
yeah, or they just kind of like, oh well, that was the problem of this episode, but we're not going to really do anything with it, and that's never going to come up again.
There's a lot of loose threads because they didn't get enough time to flesh out a lot of the deeper ideas of the show. But it was just the problem with the show so much. Maybe Nichiro's team was trying to push so much in. Maybe it was a thing of the adaptation.
They do say that restriction breeds creativity, so...
They do say that, whoever they may be.
Yes, they. So, maybe the fact that it is a series that we all rate as, at the very least, an 8, comes
But
from
it's,
that fact.
yeah, that's true. But it's sometimes it does feel like it could be tighter if they just
Yeah.
gone back and like rewritten it and like thought what it was going to do. I don't know. The Mani could have done something, or he could have like cut him out or done something more interesting with them.
I feel like they had an extra dimension to the shows, particularly towards the end. They
I
were
hated
third.
every scene with them in.
What?
Really?
You're crazy.
The scenes
You're
where they were all
mad.
talking to each other are really boring. Like cuts away from the main characters to the bad guys talking about bollocks, which actually doesn't amount to anything ever.
Yeah, but that's fine, because sometimes the bad guys' plans just don't go off.
I love.
In fact, most of the
I
time.
love all the different pies, thumbs and pies.
Mhm.
And how they interact. That made no sense. I'll start that one again. I love the way in which all of the different parties amalgamated together. And the fact that there was another group involved gave an extra flavour, an extra depth to the whole show.
But
It
they
feels like-
didn't do anything.
If it was just...
They had no purpose. If they weren't there, they would have still completed their goal. Everything would have happened the same.
harder though.
Not much.
If
They
it
kind of make
otherwise
the
it would just be
story.
Hite versus Togame, and I feel like to have that third party involved gave an extra depth. No? Do you not think that made things more interesting? Do you
Do you
think
not
it
feel
like
should
Ho
be
adds
to the
actual
show?
the whole way?
I think the interesting part, Ho-Oh's okay, but I think the interesting part is that is the one character they meet, the sword bearer, they meet every episode, and they kind of talk about what their problem is and how they have their relationship with the sword and what the sword's abilities are and how they kind of play into that person's history in their life. And then the Mani have their like little Team Rocket period where we have to talk to the Mani and someone comes in and dies. Like great. Hopefully that has a climax right at the end.
Kind of did. I mean,
say that
the
it
last
does.
few Mani characters,
Yeah.
their deaths and their point to the plot were very emotional, I found.
The desperation to try and
Ho-Oh-
keep themselves around, even though they're losing. They're basically trying to cling to the way of the ninja, even though their family, their whole village is falling apart. So the fact that Ho-Oh sacrifices like 3 of his own guys just to keep him and Penguin the next generation alive, and he's even willing to die himself. He's just collecting these swords so that he can basically sell them to Togami for the promise of some money to keep their village going. It's kind of a tragedy in that sense. And I mean, Ho-Oh dies, and air quotes dies, before he can actually fight anyone important.
But it's
So-
not really, that's not really a heroic journey though. He's attempted something and failed.
Yeah.
It's an attempt
but-
at heroism because I mean they are in many senses the bad guys still, but every time one of these dudes, not
But
towards the
like,
beginning, but as the story went
as
on,
well.
each of them,
They are a little bit that.
yeah, like very funny. But as the story goes on, you endear yourself to them more and more, which is the same with the sword wielders. You get
To
more and
me,
more involved.
The
you get
Maniwani are the heart of the
the
story in a
balance.
lot of ways.
Really, I would have liked if they just didn't exist.
There's 12 Maniwani, there's 12 swords.
There
There's a
are.
parallel there.
They just die every episode.
They
That's
do
why.
die.
It's a baker's dozen
Very
of
sad.
swords.
Baker's dozen, that's strictly true.
Penguin was a stupid character.
Penguin's
What?
very cute.
Penguin
Fuck
is the
you,
best.
you cunt.
How
What?
can you say
Put
this?
in
You
so people
monster.
would go, whoa, look, he's cute.
He died and it was very
I'm
sad.
glad he died.
You monster. Fuck you.
No one's going to
Dick.
listen to this now.
No.
People just tuned out at your awful opinion.
Ho should have been just like a lone ninja who actually won some battles and shit.
Well, that's just Amon Zymon.
He was also a bad character.
What?
I didn't like
You're
any of that.
mad!
What was the point? What,
He's
who
just
was
a
he?
Did you
direct
like this
mirror.
anime?
He's the direct mirror to Shichika. He's a person who devotes himself to this princess that he'll do anything for, but he doesn't
True.
manage to develop as a person because the princess he's devoted to denies everything. He himself denies everything. He denies his own humanity. He's fought Ho in the past, and as I say, lost his face, which is a bit fucked. And yeah, he's got this long-standing grudge from his whole family being wiped out that he's just put aside because he's just a servant. He is a slave. He's what Shichika could become if he hadn't developed his humanity.
He is just a sword.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But Shichika is so much more than a sword. He's developed from sword into master.
He doesn't have any development as a character. He doesn't. You see, he turns up like later on in the show.
Yeah.
And is kind of the same throughout it, and he dies but doesn't die. That's not explained.
I feel like he's not a
He
main.
does.
He's an important character, but he's not a main character. You're not going to see his character.
I mean, but he is
throughout
the final boss of the show. He's the climax of the show. The last battle of the show is fighting is Shichika fighting against this person who I guess is the parallel of him.
Yes, but it's Shichika's old self is him.
Yeah.
He's purely a sword. Like Shichika was a sword before he became a proper, fully fledged individual. And Shichika's killed that aspect of himself. He's killed the servant self, his sword self, in that last battle. He's overcome himself.
Amon Zoma's the direct opposite in that sense. He lost his real self, he lost his face, he lost his identity, and then he became the tool of Princess Hite. And it's sort of the antagonist of the show overall, I guess, kinda?
Well, it's this dualism between Togame and Hite throughout. And that's the interesting
I
part.
just think that he's something that they've added. They've added a new character in. He is a static character, and he kind of at the end he's the big bad, which you're not expecting because he's not an interesting character. I wasn't.
Even after the intro, setting up the fight and everything.
Well,
first encounters, where it's like, these guys
he was just like
The
another.
rival
He
with
was just
Hite
like,
as well.
as soon as he turned up, he was basically another Maniwani who just goes around. But he was killing them, I guess.
He did
It was like
Indiana
in the
Jones.
weird, like,
motherfucker.
little-
That was pretty cool.
A little like B plot of him going around fucking them up and doing his own little thing. Then he turns up at the end, like here, right? Okay,
But didn't
what's
you
your
feel
deal?
like the-
He doesn't like have a deal.
But
he
there's
just is
the-
good at fighting.
The
I mean, I've
Togame
got to
and Hite kind of
That's
dualism, and then
face.
you have their people underneath them dueling it out. Doesn't
Hite
that, like,
does
that
just kind of
parallel?
show up, like
Yeah.
halfway through the show, which is kind of a flaw. But
Well,
how would you have
was
set it up
implied that
before?
she was always Togame's master. And you knew that there was someone
Yeah.
in Owari that Togame didn't like and was her master, or was her
a rival?
Was her, yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was always an ongoing problem with the show is that at the beginning of each episode they kind of thrust you into the action so fast you have no idea what the context was. Like a minute of, not exposition necessarily, but a way to endear you and get you immersed in this environment would have been quite helpful, particularly in episode 9 I think it was. It just kind of thrust you into this dojo.
Yeah.
And how did they get here? Why is he fighting this
It's kind of
person
like
in the
episode
dojo?
7 in that regard, but I think 7 does it better with the
Seven,
sort of they have a
yeah.
fight and then Shichika loses.
I
with us.
think
and-
the kind of vignette way that it works is interesting. That it's like you skip out months and months and months of these characters being together, but the characters do change. You see like changes between episodes which aren't explained because I guess that just happens.
Yeah.
So the progression is there, but it doesn't have to go through every single moment of their lives.
It's just
Which is
logically
quite
inferred by the viewer.
Because
But
it's
like obvious
paralleled
what
by the
happened,
months in which
they
it was
just kind of
airing, which is quite
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
It's like these people have been working in the background as you've been getting on with your daily life, and now you're back to meet them again.
So, yeah.
What are we up to? 4.
We're on 4. 5 is the
Five is the armor boy.
and that's the complete opposite of before. This is a sword that anyone can wield as armor. You
This
can
is
just run
when
into them.
swords become bullshit. As in, this isn't a sword, that's a suit of armor.
But it's got like swords in it.
It's
Whoa.
a sword. It's called a sword now.
He has like a big horn, right?
He doesn't have a big old
Right,
armor
so
like that.
the armor was an armor, but under the plates of armor there were swords.
Kinda, yeah.
Right.
Yes.
But it's unbreakable armor. So if you have unbreakable armor, the person inside doesn't matter that much. They can just keep running into everything and they'll never die.
Hmm.
So as a sword, they're very effective. However,
As
They
opposed,
must-
opposed to the previous sword, which was the sword that you had to be a master to wield.
Yes.
but even then, there's a problem because the person inside does still matter because they can fuck up royally.
You gotta take it off to eat.
Yeah.
All sorts of things.
So he kind of goes back to the spot in the sixth time. He goes back to the fourth sword, but it has to be
Yeah.
a certain person has to be able to wield this sword.
Yeah.
You don't have to be good at it, but if you're of a certain class, you're the only one. So not like some other moron can just steal this sword and start using it. It's a sword that it's
Well, it was,
curated.
in this case,
Say that
it
episode
wasn't
5.
really. It wasn't strong of. And previously, it was you had to be strong of your power, your skill had to be strong. This guy's just kind of an idiot. He's a strong. Well, he doesn't have the will for it. You
He
have to be
does
strong of
have the
will.
hots for Takami. So.
Mm.
He does.
He didn't
Which-
have the will. That's true.
Yeah.
He had the body, and he has a body, so he's able to wield the sword, but he doesn't have the psyche for the sword.
I'd say everyone that Shichika fights is a parallel to him in some way. And this guy kind of starts that in that he is a romantic... He's not really a romantic rival, but he wants to be. And that's
Kind of
sort of
like, he's a romantic kind of like doofus.
Yeah.
He's kind of a...
He's a little man.
He's a little man in a big shell.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a Kabuto. He's too shy. He can't stand up for himself without the armor. He is the armor, whereas most of these people, the sword is subservient to them. He is subservient to the sword.
Yes.
The next one. So this was episode 6.
With the strongest lolly in the world.
Strongest ice lolly.
Yeah, they go to Yezo and they climb a big mountain and they fight an ice lolly.
They do. They nearly die first.
And yeah, this is true. This is the ice lolly is the first character to actually defeat our main crew.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa, he's not invincible.
One of the lessons of the show: being stupid and bad at things is good. Being smart and good at things is bad, and you shouldn't.
Well, we see that in the dynamic between Togame and Shichika, is that Shichika is not that smart, as he said himself many times, but he's able to know he's not very smart, and he's talented, and even though Togame knows what people might well do, because she's smart, people can predict her. The less smart you are, the less predictable you are. And we see that in the 6th battle, where Shichika says, I have no idea what this girl's going to do, because she's so unpredictable and untrained at the sword.
It occurs to me that we still never actually talked about episode 4 and what happened. Shichika's sister, we've not even talked about her.
Shichika's sister, yeah. She's
Yeah.
nuts.
Talk about that next episode.
Yes.
But in episode 6, so the character is just really strong.
Strong lolly.
She's just a really strong ice lolly.
Mm.
I like to think it's some sort of parallel to the Ainu people.
Yes.
I think it was something like that. It was they were some kind of other race of people who lived up in the snow and living in such harsh conditions that just made them really strong.
But they've all recently been
well,
wiped out by a mysterious character.
Mm.
Yeah, who knows?
Mm.
And then we also get another one of the Mani turn up.
And
Like, whoa,
die,
no,
incidentally.
you're gonna kill the little ice lolly. But no, they just die.
Yeah.
God.
Shichika has the exorcism technique, which lets him exorcise the ghost from the body. I guess.
He punched
the
punched the tattoo
Yeah.
instead of the body.
That's a bit of bullshit.
Which is,
This is a bit of
kind
bullshit.
of bollocks, but it's kind of fun bollocks.
Yeah.
I feel like he punched her out of her.
I quite like that character. She shows up in the prequel light novel, I think.
Who? The,
Impossible to know.
the manual
The
one.
manual, yeah.
Seems like a bit of a lone wolf in the pack.
Yeah.
And it turned out that the ice lolly just gives them the sword after that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're under this presupposition that everyone wants to keep their sword, but unless you kill me, I will not give up my sword. However, they kind of win her over both that.
Yeah. This
A
sword
different kind of.
is the really heavy one that only she could carry, so she kind of had to live. Otherwise, how the
True.
fuck were they getting at that
And
back?
they sent her back
Yeah.
to episode 2.
Yeah, 3.
Episode 3.
Yeah. Just lives
to
at
go
the
live
temple
there
now.
with all
Okay.
the weird, like, yandery
Yeah.
sword people.
All the shrine maids. Just to make you quite happy.
The Gensoku. Then we go on to episode 7.
Oh
episode
boy.
7 takes place in the forest. This is one of the most
The
powerful
animation
things.
drop.
Animation drop, but they do it in such an interesting way. It does have like a slight shafty feel a lot of
Oh,
the
yeah.
episodes. A lot of the camera angles, a lot of the shots that they take.
The
It's
light
just-
novel scene.
Yeah, in episode 9 there's a big neck twist, and I was like, yeah, that was a bit shafty. In episode 7 there's a big like pan shot of the dojo when they were fighting that was really drawn out from a
Well, I'd
wide
always
angle,
thought-
felt really sharp.
I watched this first, like, maybe 5 years ago. And I've just always thought that it was a shaft show.
I don't know. This is White Fox, the guys that did A Kamiga Kill. Also,
And
Steins Gate.
Yeah.
ReZero.
But it does feel, they do a lot of weird disparate stuff, like
Yeah.
stuff that doesn't seem to feel like it came from the same studio. And this definitely, it feels like a shaft show.
well, me and Nick were
Um,
saying the other day that it kind of does feel like maybe some Shaft people worked on this. I don't know if that's true, but
Probably. I'm not sure what shafts.
I don't know how much of the kind of the shaft, like the Bakemonogatari kind of shaftisms
Yeah.
come from the writing, come from the light novels.
it's all matey, isn't it? That one Shaft guy, Shinbo.
Shinbo, yeah.
Yeah, but it was.
I
This
feel
is
like a lot of his
Shinbo.
actors,
This is
like,
Shinbo.
all
This
of
is
his
Nishiosin.
descendants.
Yeah.
That is the common denominator here.
Yeah.
I feel like Nishiosin is such a big writer now that he can basically dictate what he wants in his show, what he doesn't want in his show. I feel like he can pick and select now.
Well, this was kind of the height of his career.
It's quite
this
an
is
old
when he
show,
was.
to be fair, though.
Well, this is when
Post Monogatari.
Yeah, I think.
This is post the light novels, but this came out. Yeah, no, back in Monogatari had already come out. When this has come out. Yeah, this was like the year after.
Yeah, so he's already like a well-known. I feel like he had the.
Well, this is
shit
the
push.
height of his career. This is when he was the most well known.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As
well,
a
at least
light novel.
I guess the light novel's all elongated.
Like, is he writing? What's he even doing now?
He's still going. He's still writing Monogatari.
Really?
Yeah.
More?
Yeah. Even after the final season, we've got
How many-
the
how
off
many-
season
the
and the
last
monster
final
season.
season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Damn.
It's never gonna end. He's still going.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really necessarily seem. I guess it's just what he wants out of a show, and he
Yeah.
probably has the push.
I guess he
himself
just
to-
writes the characters that are like this. They're pretentious and they
That's
they
who he
talk a
is.
lot.
He's very pretentious.
He is, and you can tell he's got like his little trademarks of
Yeah.
characters just kind of talking to each other in the way you expect them to talk to each other. Like they just talk.
Episode 6,
there's
the,
no sort
the
of
child
also
that talks
witty-
like an adult, but then reminds you, I'm just a child, by the way, so
I
I
don't
don't expect you to
understand.
know
I'm a
many
child.
things.
Oh, Ken.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Like they're all so witty that it's obviously unbelievable.
Yeah.
But
It's
No,
intended
it's-
unbelievable. It's not badly written. It's smartly written, but with the intent of undermining your presuppositions. It's wittily written.
one of the things that feels I'm not sure I can explain it, but the when I was watching the show, it's 50-minute episodes, which is double the normal length. But to me, when I'm watching it, it just kind of feels like a much shorter show. It doesn't feel like I'm watching half a movie every single time that I'm watching an episode.
It does to me. Too.
Um,
It always feels like 2 episodes long for me. It doesn't like go blink of the eye.
Well, I don't know. The dialogue is paced in a way that I just kind of.
It's very snappy.
It's snappy, and you never like stick on one scene for too long. There's always something going on, and
In that way, it's
there are a
different
lot of like elements going on. Often
Yeah.
don't make any sense, don't matter in the end. But that kind of makes the show flow well.
Yeah.
Because I've seen a lot of complaints online where people are saying they could have just made it normal episode lengths and cut out all the
really-
bollocks. What's going on?
I don't think it would have worked if they'd done that.
You wouldn't endear yourself to the characters, and the final punch wouldn't have hit you.
Mm.
But it is very different to Monogatari in that way, because Monogatari normally stays on the same scenes and switches between the same scene, the same different shots of the same perspective, the same location. However, in this they do mix it up. It's not as sharp.
Well, things are happening. Things are happening in this show. Monogatari is really boring. Things happen so slowly, and stuff often doesn't happen.
I mean, 1, wrong, but 2, yeah, kinda. So.
An episode of Monogatari feels longer than an episode of Katanagatari.
That's not
Really?
true.
I disagree.
You're just getting too warped into the membrane of.
Too much.
You're too anti-Reddit. You can't like Monogatari because it's too Reddit for you.
That is not. I did not say that.
That's
There's
what you
too
implied. You
little
heavily
is
implied
happening.
that.
Too little is happening back in Monogatari.
Well, often nothing is happening, but that's fine.
Although back in Monogatari, the first season itself, I just quite like. Because things actually happen. It's got the every episode it's doing the Monsters of the Week kind of thing, which I think Inicio seems good at.
He's very good at Monster of the
He's
Week.
good at Monsters of the Week stuff. But when he tries to do extended plots, that's when people get angry, and that's when I get angry, and it falls apart.
When you say people get angry, it's only you that I've heard so far get angry about this.
Or was everyone else in 4chan that gets angry about it?
Could
I
be.
don't know.
Could be.
I don't. He's a bit of a hack.
No!
Of course he
Rude.
is. Of course he is.
He is, but
His,
like what?
His writing styles are, especially in the fight scenes, they're like steeped in the shonen tropes. He just does them so extreme you almost can't see them. But
Because they're so extreme,
obviously
it's a
so
parody of
extreme.
it.
I mean, have you
But they
read?
aren't a parody of it.
James, have you read
Oh,
Medaka
shows.
Box? By the
No,
way?
I haven't seen Medaka Box either, and I
Oh,
do want to see
Medaka
it.
Box. I don't know whether you'd like it, if only because like partway through the fights become so abstract and bollocks that people just kind of say, "I'm using this power now." Cut to the next page. The opponent is defeated.
But everything he does is a parody at the end of the
Yeah.
day. Like he does something, he exaggerates something to such a crescendo that it can't be. He must be conscious that he's doing it.
Yeah.
But ironic shitposting is still shitposting. And it's still bad, even if it's done under some veneer of irony
But
or.
I hate the fact that you're right, but I still disagree with you.
It doesn't feel that way.
It annoys this it's kind of a very like postmodern kind of idea. Of
Oh
him,
yeah, for sure.
him doing something he's doing on purpose. Lol, look, it's
Insane.
purposefully kind of stupid and playing into the tropes.
In the same way
So
that modern
heavily that it's
memes,
ridiculous.
in the
Well,
same
it's
way that
ridiculous.
memes are postmodern now,
Mhm.
is
Yeah,
that you have all these. everything's like an exaggeration and an irony of itself, and nothing can actually take itself seriously because everything's.
Or a very
Caring about things
surface
is
level
fucking
on that kind of.
losers.
Well, yeah, it's so surface level that you think it's cool in the moment.
Yeah.
You're like, haha, funny. But there's nothing deeper than that.
In terms of the dialogue, perhaps
It
I
kind
feel
of
like
rips
in
out
anime
the
it
rips out the
has
kind of the
a
soul
good-
of an idea,
You
and
don't
kind of just
know.
plays on that idea.
For me, there's a
refuses to kind of
good-
have its own idea.
There's a
It's
good
like an
deal of
anti-
philosophy in what Nishio-sen writes, I would say.
For
Yeah,
sure.
no, yeah, you're right.
It's
a lot of things.
deeper than you're giving it credit for. Especially second
Katanagatari
season.
has some good ideas.
So does Monogatari.
Yeah.
Like actually has ideas.
Got very good. You should read the light.
It has good character designs. That's I'll give it that.
That was a better. The
Yes.
adaptation is shit. Shaft are fucking awful. I'm lying, of course. Shaft is
That's what I
good.
Shaft.
Yeah, Shaft is good. I shouldn't say that. That's mean.
Nishio-sen is kind of a stupid author who's good at playing up to these kind of tropes so well that people like really enjoy them. It's kind of a
No,
I would
Nishio-sen
say-
does his own thing. He doesn't. He's not beholden to other
he
people.
does not.
I
He does
would
the
say
same thing.
that
he
he's
does the same
something-
thing. He does everything. He does everything everyone else does, and he supposes he does everything.
Yeah,
it feels
but-
like his own new thing.
He strikes me as something of kind of an idiot savant in a way. Like he sees something, he understands it immediately, and
Yeah.
he uses that. He just kind of regurgitates what he sees.
He understands what's good about something else and
Hmm.
can regurgitate that very well, and people resonate with the thing that's already good. But he doesn't have his own.
Speaking of which,
Uh-huh.
that sounds a little bit like the villain of episode 7, wouldn't you say? Who
Episode
sees a
7?
thing and immediately understands what it's
you're right.
about.
Maybe it's that Nishio-sen is writing himself into every story he makes.
Well, I think he is, because
does.
that's also the protagonist of Medaka Box. So
Well, there you
yeah.
go. There you go. Yeah. The so episode 7 is. It's a good episode.
It's a very
good
It's
episode.
a very, very good episode.
The villain, by the way, is Shichika's sister Nanami.
Yeah.
Who has
Who
the
we
ability
neglected to
to-
talk about earlier, but she is incredibly powerful.
She's
her-
OP and her body
strongest.
can't even cope with how powerful she is.
If she
So
went
the-
all out, she would die.
So the seventh
She's
sword
that one.
keeps her alive. The seventh sword is it
Akuto
regenerates
Ita.
her body,
Mhm.
which is powerful. The idea is that before, if the wielder of the sword died, then oh shit, what do you do now?
Mhm.
But now this person's got a sword stabbed in their chest, keeping them alive, regenerating their body, and they can't die. So if the wielder can't die, then you can't lose, right?
Yeah, theoretically.
But I guess again, it's some kind of it's the fortitude of the bearer. They have to have the will to win the fight. In order to
Shichika
make this
wins
sword
by
powerful.
removing the sword from her and then just having a little fight with her and winning.
Yeah, I mean the sword itself ruins someone's psyche.
Hmm.
I guess was the idea. The sword itself forced the holder, the bearer, to kind of break down,
Well,
and in the end they'd kill themselves.
Nanami
This was
is
happened
a
in this
Kyoto
episode.
Ryo user, so she is herself a sword, and a saying that they throw out every now and then is, a sword wielding a sword is absurd. So her using the sword is just wrong, and I mean, when we watched it, the Irish, is that what we're calling her really? Jenna sat and watched it with us, because she
Aw.
wanted to see the fight, because she liked the
Who's
character.
that? Who's that?
The Irish
The
one.
Irish.
The Irish.
The Irish
Oh,
one.
yeah.
She sat and watched it with us, and she got to the point where Shichika kind of just kicks the sword, and she's like, and she falls on the ground. And Shichika takes the sword out, and it's like, happy days. She got up, and she was like, this is bullshit, and left. And then they have a proper fight, and it's good. And I'm like,
She also
you
cuts,
missed the fight.
what's her face's hair?
Yeah, she does.
And that
Which
improves
is
her
horrific,
look.
and it ruined her look.
But
Didn't
it
it?
improved her look.
She looks great afterwards as well. So, I mean, the character design
Important.
Perhaps,
especially
I love
her.
the art style. It's like halfway between. It's very much. It reminds me of
it's very white.
Tatami
somehow.
Galaxy.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Tatami
Yeah,
Galaxy. in a way.
it does remind me kind of like Yuasa, kind of that kind of feel of character.
It reminds me
Very-
a lot of the
very
Kamiga
cartoony.
Kill, which is kind of gross, because I hate a Kamiga Kill, but...
Doesn't
But I
remind me
really
that
like it
at all.
anyway.
It's kind of samurai, I guess.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
It's not a
almost.
music tool.
Not really. It's a bit
Yeah.
Yukio the style, especially
Yeah.
something
No,
like
yeah,
that.
no, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought I wrote that down, but I forgot my notebook. But it was a lot of the backgrounds, a lot of like just the shots look like they're like parodying artworks and stuff.
Especially in episode 7, when you got very still frames and they're just kind of
Yeah.
moving across a
I
background.
do remember that episode 7 is full of like wide panning shots.
That was a Shaft-like episode. I feel like Shaft are very good at budget cutting, so they've got some like some of the episode directors.
But if you draw one beautiful frame, you can just kind of use it for as long as you want.
Yeah, and that's what Shaft's always done so well, especially with Monogatari. Monogatari can look so beautiful not because it has the budget, but because they just stay on the same frame for so long.
But I guess that I just prefer this kind of art style they're parodying than in Monogatari, because Monogatari is very simplistic and minimalistic. A lot of it's very, what are the, like 1870s, that kind of period of that kind of art. But the, well, it feels like an Art Deco, but less later. But it feels like that kind of.
Like Art Deco, I can definitely agree with. That's kind of the style it's going for.
Mm-hmm. But the Katanagatari feels more like kind of Art Nouveau, kind of that
combined
kind of,
with traditional
kind of,
Japanese
like,
art.
It has that kind of isometric view, because they haven't invented, they didn't have perspective view in Japan until like the 1830s.
They only had one eye.
Yeah, basically. So everything was isometric view and that kind of.
You get some very nice parallax in those scenes.
They do have some very nice parallax, especially because that's quite easy to animate.
Yeah,
because you have all the different frames on top of each other moving at different rates and
characters with just a basic walk cycle, just walking across the screen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But then he kills his sister, which is pretty awful.
Well, his sister also represents an
point.
aspect of his personality because his sister is the strength, which is not. It's a sword carrying a sword, and the problem with the sword carrying a sword is a sword has no inherent morality. It's like a knife. It is a knife. It's just a very long knife. Which it depends how the wielder uses it, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, like a gun.
I mean, she is sword. He was sword, but he becomes man.
And his sister
This
is
is really
sad
the
about
first
that.
part where we see him like have an emotional reaction to killing someone. Because killing someone in a lot of these kind of action shows
want
are
to
often
kill the one from episode 3.
Yeah,
He's
that's
trying to give her an out.
Because I really like that scene a lot because his Togame he's really regretful. Togame is very regretful that Chichika killed the bandit woman in episode 3. However, she doesn't like chastise him for it. She just says, "Good job." Because it's in developmental psychology. When you're training a child, you can't say that, "Oh no, you've done a bad job," when they think they're doing something that you want them to do. Otherwise, they'll be just disdainful of the fact that they're doing something good and turn evil. So it's very interesting the way in which they depict that kind of change. But what was I talking about before?
We're talking about
Episode 8. What was in episode 8?
Episode 8.
Episode 8.
That's the
robot.
The robot in the junk robot.
The robot in the junk robot. Yes.
Yes. So at the time, this is interesting. Exactly the time when he was writing these novels, the hit Pixar film WALL-E had just come out.
Oh my! Really?
Well, it's like a couple of years ago, like a year or so ago, I think. So I was thinking, this episode is based on a robot who lives in a junkyard, and she's kind of been forgotten. She gets where she lives. It just keeps on doing her job. I was like, isn't it just WALL-E? Did Nishioshi just like that film?
Can you blame him though? WALL-E was a good movie.
WALL-E
was the best Pixar film, so yeah.
It's
a good film.
What?
Okay, never mind. The short one was wrong.
The short one is wrong.
It's a good episode, but I'm sad that we didn't, because the whole point was they went to this dried out lake just full of rubbish to go find like a laboratory of
Shikizaki Hiki
of the guy who made the swords, but they never actually show that. Like, don't actually go to the base.
They don't find it.
Yeah, but they kind of gloss over these starting points. You don't really know their motives.
They found a box full of gold and threw it away without even looking.
Oh yeah.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
This episode doesn't seem to have much in terms of carrying the plot forward or anything. It's just the cool.
Well,
it's got the best action scenes. It's my favorite. It's my favorite for the action scenes.
It sets up the final arc of the show, which is Amon Zaimon hunting down the final of the Maniwani and. Oh, I see.
Oh, we've got guests.
Oh, good God.
What does the Maniwani do in this episode?
The Maniwani in this episode have their final summit where there's 4 of them left and they're desperate and they're just like, yeah, we need to...
Is this where they decide to team up with the gang?
No, that was episode 5 where they team up with the Protags.
Never mind.
But yeah, that's the one where the sea turtle boy dies. Mr. I have a rapier. My power is rapier. I looked it up on the wiki. His power is just listed as his power is rapier. He's good. He's
That is
good.
It's better than the otter guy, who's just his power is being killed.
Psychometry.
power
That's
is
really
psychometry.
cool.
He just dies though.
But
He's cool.
James,
Cool idea.
He used it later.
Like literally chops his arm off, grafts it to himself, and uses that power when he picks up the 11th sword, and that's why he
It's true.
channels
She
fucking
did quite like
Shikizaki
the bit
Kiki.
where he just kills
Yeah.
his friend. It's
This is the
it's
point
just-
of
it's
horror.
like an
He's so
outrage
willing
thing.
to
You're
throw
welcome.
away his own guys because that's the aim he's working at, and he'll throw away anything outside of himself and Penguin, and eventually even himself, to try and bring the Manhwa back to relevance. And then you have the tragedy in episode 11 where he gets taken over by the sword.
Calling it a tragedy makes it sound better than it is. I
Nah,
think. Really, a tragedy makes it sound like some
They
kind of
don't
romantic
give it enough
tragedy
time.
tale.
They don't give it enough time.
think
to
It
it's
flesh
might
out
be
the
better
plot.
in the light novels. I don't think they're up to that point yet, but
If a tragedy has to have the main characters fail, if you have enemies fail, that's not a tragedy.
it's a
not
tragedy for
enemies,
him.
though.
It's
No,
a
they aren't.
tragedy
They don't
for
seem
him
to. They
and
aren't
his
even enemies.
They
They don't do
do.
anything.
They're not bad.
James,
That you
if
endear
you-
them over this plot. That's the idea, that you endear
If
them
you
more and
take
more
his
to the manual.
story
At
as
the
a
end,
separate
sure.
story that happens, and he is the protagonist of it, then his story is a tragedy.
I guess so.
He
Well, the
eventually
story of the
draws a
Manhwa-
sword
of the
that makes
Manhwa
him
is a
kill his own
tragedy.
people. It's a
They
sad
get
time.
drawn in by this greed,
Mm.
and then they're unable to back away from this greed for these swords because they think it's the only thing that's going to continue their group.
Mm.
But the true enemy of the Manhwa turns out to be Enon
Enon
Zaimon.
Zaimon.
Who the fuck's he? Who the fuck's he in relation to
They
them?
needed to
We
introduce
find
him
out
better.
in
They really needed to
episode
introduce him
8
better in the
that
show.
he is from a ninja clan that got wiped out by the Manhwa ninja at some point in the past, like 150 years ago.
Yeah, and it
But
seems
do
like
you
they've
think-
incorporated all of the
Yeah.
Aoi, I think their tribe name was
Yeah.
Aioi.
Aioi, yeah.
They've incorporated all of the techniques into them. Some of the sort
Yeah.
of
Homo
transferred.
straight up stole them by
But I-
stealing parts
But
of
wouldn't
people's
wouldn't it
bodies.
wouldn't it have been more interesting if they had said, if he was battling against like what he was being told to do and his revenge kind of plot. He didn't even talk about his revenge plot. He just fought them because he was told to.
He just
And
kind of
doesn't even
drops
come
it
up
in
to-
episode 8.
He
He's
does.
just
It
like,
does come
yo.
up.
But that doesn't come. You're in the fight. They're like, oh, I know who you are. But it's not. That's not. He doesn't
Yeah,
fight
let's
for
see
that.
Turtle
He
Boy,
is,
he's
he
like-
is their servant.
He
He
has
is
no-
Hite's slave.
Yeah, but he stays as a slave. And
He
doesn't-
says, like, you wiped out my people, but that's not the reason I'm fighting. I'm fighting for a different reason, which is because he's on Hite's command.
I think it just would have been more interesting if he had kind of
He could have had a sort of personality, but I feel like that would have taken away from him as sort of the mirror to Shichika.
The point is that he doesn't have a personality.
Yeah.
And that's why he's the mirror to Shishika. That's why Shishika needs to overcome that aspect of himself in order to go from sword to man.
Yeah, but if the mirror to Shichika, if that idea was the point, surely it should have been in like episode 1. He should have
in
been the
the
guy who turned
intro.
up.
You see,
Yeah,
the
it's in the
He
intro.
needed an early introduction. I feel like they
Yeah.
didn't introduce him very well when he was introduced. He was just kind of like on that boat in episode 7.
Yeah,
like,
he's just
who
in
are
the
you?
So
shadows,
do you
like,
reckon? Do you
yo.
reckon he was just made as like the holder for
Entoju, the guns.
yeah?
No, I feel like
And
Some
then
ways-
eventually they wanted him with like, okay, he's the only guy who can be the big bad because we've introduced him earlier and he's
Well,
not dead.
The
I
way
feel
they're
like they
releasing
always-
them in the West, they're releasing the volumes, I think, 3 episodes at a time. In Japan, they release them as 12 light novels. I think we're getting 4.
Why?
So I don't know. It's just Vertical being weird,
Yes,
like they
yeah.
were with Bakemonogatari.
It's seasonal, you know, by season.
Yeah. But yeah,
That's what
I think
just
he
to
was
drop
a
that in,
character
is
that-
I like that every episode takes place in the month that it aired / was published.
yes.
So like in the September one, it's in September, obviously. And you can
The
tell the
October
seasons
one,
changing.
it's very much autumn.
Yeah, I think that's cool. That's cool.
Must
Obviously,
be shown.
the snow
I mean,
one
they have
happens
this-
in summer, but
a strange release schedule. It must have been something quite
Yeah.
popular there.
I don't know about the popular. I don't really know about the popularity.
well, the the initial release was, I think, a series of 12 OVAs that happened once a month over the course of a year,
Okay.
starting in
Was it not
January.
on TV?
I think it was on TV. Yeah, is that still an OVA? I don't know.
No.
Okay,
OVA means original video animation. Original to the video.
they're all videos.
No,
Yeah, but not
original,
Source fans video.
original to the video is in like
What?
the video.
I'm sorry, I'm using the incorrect terminology. I'm not weak enough for you.
Oh,
Dai
no,
Senpai has fallen.
Nick, at least you pronounce it OVA, not over.
Over?
Oh, but it's written O, then a V, then an
And
A.
it's capitals.
Oh, speaking of, I really like the op and the ed of Katanagatari.
The Up and the Ed are pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, all of the Eds. There's
All the
quite a lot of
eds
Eds.
are There's an ed for every
There's
episode.
an Ed for
That's a
everyone.
very...
We're
that's a
talking
very sharp
Ed,
thing.
Eddie, and all the other eds. Edward.
Eddie and Ed Wood.
Ed,
Yeah.
Ed.
Ed, yeah.
That's a very sharp thing to have different
Yeah.
AD. Maybe Cindy still want to...
But sadly, most of the endings were
Yeah,
so
maybe.
unremarkable that I don't
Do you
remember
think
them.
so?
They were all kind of.
I
they
don't
were
think you
good,
hear
but they
them
were
enough. Because you
Yeah.
only hear them once.
There was one or two that were really
If you
good.
choose
And
to
I was like,
listen
this is cool,
Yeah.
but it's not the ending for all of them. And some of them I just don't even remember at all. I don't remember what happened.
I don't remember all, they're all good though.
Let's not
Oh,
forget that the
oh,
fact
nice.
that we're talking about this now is because the three of us failed to recognize the Katanagatari opening in an OP quiz that we took the other day and realized that we're all at episode 3 of a rewatch. How?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the music is good, but
Yes.
the OST is good, but the actually
Yeah,
opening
it's
and endings.
amazing.
The
There's
opening
so
and
many
endings
different
are
styles.
unremarkable.
There's-
They are Japanese style, but they're
This-
No,
good.
no, it's
They're
not
cool.
Japanese
Listen
styles.
to them
No,
on
the
their
opening.
own.
The opening.
Oh,
Oh, the
okay.
openings. The openings really remind me of the Medaka box opening for some reason.
The OST is so many different things. They've got like some like Middle Eastern. They've got some.
OST has
They
some
got some
really
pop,
cool bits,
they
some
got
really,
some traditional
really
Japanese
bad
ones.
bits.
Some
There are
bits
some
that just
really
sound
bad-
like my
work.
laptop
There's,
fan.
there's the really bad rap one, which
That's
puts
Good!
it's-
It's so good!
I can't hear. You literally can't hear the voices of the characters above the rap. It's very,
No,
very
it's
confusing.
interesting.
Especially
like that.
as like not a Japanese guy. I'm like trying to listen to Japanese. Hear some more Japanese. Very, very.
But you
and,
don't
like, the
have to
same
listen to the
volume.
Japanese because
Or-
you're English. You can just read
No,
the subs.
no. You have to listen to
You
Japanese.
do listen
you
to the
have to
Japanese.
listen to Japanese.
You
Otherwise
can
you
also
get that-
just read the subs.
The problem with that is you don't get that like understanding.
Maybe
No,
maybe it is better.
Like, don't get me
If you're
wrong.
Japanese, you can understand them to both
Yeah.
simultaneously. But it was very, very confusing when I was watching that.
It's just
I was
because
like, is
too
someone
much
else
read.
talking?
You
This
know
is
a
very
bit of
confusing.
Japanese, you get them mixed up. You should be just reading the subs and listening to the sound. But you're trying to understand the
Just
sounds
remove,
as
just
one.
remove the dub track. Just don't have the characters actually speaking. Just have a soundtrack.
No.
No.
Yeah, this is
They're
stupid.
both good. Tagami is voiced by someone from Orihime. Who knew?
Who?
I
Wow.
don't actually remember. I didn't look it up.
Well, it's probably the emote, probably Kieran.
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
So.
We had episode 8. The robot.
Episode 8, the
Episode
robot.
8, the
The
robot.
problem with the first one is that, I mean, the girl could live forever, but she's still like.
It's basically a
Named.
battle robot made. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like I'm straight.
The robot follows orders.
Yeah.
It's a robot geisha girl. It's cool.
You take Akuto Beta and stick it in yourself, and it doesn't strictly rely on you being a swordsman, it just means that you don't die. But the robot, whatever the fuck it was called, Biorigu, was like following
Yeah.
Kiki Shikizaki's orders the whole time.
Well,
So-
the sword. I feel like the bearer of the sword is Kiki Shikizaki, whatever fucking name.
Yeah.
And he doesn't really appear. So the idea is that the sword before
Shikizaki Kiki.
she
that's it.
can't use the sword because she doesn't have the will to win. She doesn't
Yeah.
want to win. She loses faith in it.
Yeah.
The next sword, you don't even need to have faith because she's a robot.
It's just a
Yeah,
fucking
the
A
first
solar
one-
powered
the
made
robot
robot.
can't improve.
But the robot. But the point,
The robots.
the solving the problem would be that the robot doesn't have personality issues. The robot's never gonna not do the fighting. Never gonna give up.
But the robot's not conscious, so it can't grow and adapt to the situation.
So the next sword is the training sword, the Bokken. And the point of the Bokken is that it makes you have this integral will from within you to
It
keep
enlightens you the moment you hold it.
fighting. Yes. And that will make
in
you...
the final battle, the guy who holds it, who hasn't been training with him, he's just like, oh, I don't care anymore. It just gives him a sense of
Yeah.
nihilism where he's like,
Was
I
that
just
that
don't.
one? I feel like he was calm and excited.
No,
and he has this feeling
He
of-
doesn't want to
He
fight.
say- he
He's
says-
willing to
He
accept.
says, as
not
soon as I
fighting.
picture this sword, I don't care about this fight anymore. Even though I'm the greatest sworder in this castle.
The greatest
Sworder-
sorter.
swordsman
Yes.
in this castle. But if you want, I can just give up and let you pass. And yeah,
Because it's sort
Shichika,
of
Shichika doesn't allow that.
it
but,
shows you that, like, it shows you everything that you need to know. It gives you the understanding of the strategy, the position that you're in.
It's basically the LSD sword.
Yeah, in a lot of
Makes
ways.
you not care
Yeah.
about what you were doing before.
Yeah, it just makes you realize that you don't have to fight.
But at the
It's
same
not
time, you
important.
become a better warrior because you train more, and you're able. It gives you the ability to adapt yourself to the new situations. Which
But
the
it
sword
sort of
presents.
fundamentally opposes Shikizaki's aim in that he wants to create the ultimate sword, but he's made a sword that doesn't even have an edge.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Like, they
Well,
do
'cause
say that it
the-
can kill,
The sword, yeah.
but it's
Because
they
the
can't cut.
the current sword bearer of the sword is a girl who trains as a swordsman, but trains in like almost a kendo kind of martial arts.
She
where
should be
the
a master of
point it
shogi.
is
That's the
not
point
to
of her.
the point is not to kill. Like
Yeah.
the art of the sword is antiquated. This art of the sword is antiquated, so they train it, just train the mind and train your body, but not to actually kill anyone.
The point of the perfect martial artist never has to use their skill.
Yeah.
Because the idea of martial arts is that you're so powerful, you don't have to use your skill, and you have the power to use your skill, but you choose not to
It's a
use
bit of a
it.
mutually assured destruction kind of.
In a way.
Yeah.
In a way. But it's also that
Which,
you
funny enough,
are
kind of
moral and controlled
pulls
enough
into
not
things.
to exercise your increased power over the other person
Yeah.
because you are willed, and martial arts give you that sense of
Center.
groundedness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a way of training your mind and your body that was built to be a fighting weapon, but in kind of if you live in a different situation, you can still use the same practices to train your body and mind, but not for the same reasons. And this sword kind of gives you the revelation of not having to fight, but having kind of the freedom to do whatever you want. It's kind of that.
Yeah, it trains you into the best martial artist. The martial artist who can becomes very good at using the weapon but never chooses to use it.
You're a master of understanding.
Yes. However, it doesn't mean you're a complete person, which brings you on to the
Directly leads to sword number 10, your favourite.
the best episode of the series, number 10.
It's a good episode.
It's a very good episode.
This they dig for ages. They dig into their psyches.
It's a physical dig and it's a metaphorical dig, but the physical dig goes away at the end. So the hole they
I guess
dug
it was just
literally
literally
vanishes.
not a real hole.
Well, it's very much a psychological thing
So
where
yeah,
this magic man, the guru who lives in this area, the holy
Yes,
man.
the holy man.
Holy man.
He
I wonder what that translation is. I don't know.
Holy man.
Oda man.
Japanese Oda man.
So this Oda man, he basically gives a set of visions. He's like this.
He appears
dark part in their
as
unconscious.
something that they recognize. So, because the two of them showed up at once, he gets the personality of Tagami's dad, but the appearance is very much based on Shichika's sister, Nanami. I don't know if you picked up on that, but
Yeah,
the look is very much the same.
the hair color.
Yeah.
Well, the idea that she's kind of like the mirror from Snow White, which
Yeah.
is how they explain it in the show. That she's merely a mirror, and she doesn't have any kind of self in herself. But
But at the same
what
time,
you
she
see
is
in her
kind of a person
is-
in her own way.
well,
Or his own
I
way.
feel
I
like
think.
he's talking to Togumi's dad, really, because that's the
Yeah.
personality.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the character herself does not have any kind of self, doesn't have beings, and the personality doesn't have
This is
a
a
body.
very weird episode, and our description of it is going to make no sense at all.
If you haven't seen it,
Yeah.
but
I
yeah,
think you're confused and bored by the
Yeah.
watched it anymore.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Audience agrees.
but yeah, they're digging deeper and deeper into their psyches, and they're getting these visions of what's of their past, of things that they've done. They're
The
being
sword is
confronted.
buried 30 meters underground.
Yes, they're
Which, I
dig.
don't know if you've ever dug a hole, but 30 meters
Long
underground is
way.
too much. You can't dig 30 meters.
That's
down.
100 feet.
You'll
That's
hit,
far,
you'll
yeah.
hit-
Retarded.
you'll hit rocks and shit.
Yeah.
You can't just dig it, especially not Togame.
Yeah.
With
That
like a
hole looks
shitty
like
shovel.
5 meters deep tops.
Yeah, well, she does reach the sword, but she only reaches it.
Yeah.
Doesn't look 30 meters.
It's a metaphysical kind of reaching
Well,
the sword.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And well, eventually, we realise that the hole doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Or they're digging deeper and deeper to find the part of themselves which they can't include in themselves.
Incidentally, the place that they find the sword is directly under where Tagami's dad's castle used to be. Tagami's dad led an uprising against the shogunate in an
Which
attempt
I think, after Googling it for like 10 seconds, is a historical uprising of the northern states
Yeah.
against the Kyoto kind of shogunate, which ended in the like they were all lined up, like thousands of people were lined up in the plains of fucking Oshu in the
You looked
current
at that,
prefecture
yeah.
of Iwate, which is like in
That's quite far north. That's like
Yeah.
it's in the north, yeah.
Aomori.
Yeah.
because they were fighting against them there, and then they were all murdered there, and that's what the plane they were on was kind of that plane. But I don't know if that's right.
I
Didn't Google it for very long.
Well, what you describe is what the show depicts, so I assume
No,
that
that
you're
is-
right, or
That
at the
is-
very least, pop culture right.
Well, pop
I think
culture
Nishio Isin
history.
is a pop culture kind of guy.
I mean, pop history is history.
Yeah.
That's the most important. bit.
Just the
It
extraction.
doesn't matter what
Yeah.
happened. It's
Just
what,
the
it's what the
abstract.
story is.
This is very true.
Mm.
But yeah, they dig under where the castle used to be, and they find the sword that showed Tagami's dad that history was wrong.
But also, it was in a deeper sense. It was they kept digging and digging to find out about Togame, and
Yes.
that's how Eben is like, what's his name?
Which one? You got? Amon
Amon
Zaimon.
Amon Simon.
Dumb.
Amon Simon. That's how he found out
What's that
about.
name? Is that name is like a,
Amon
it's like a
Zaimon.
pun on something.
It is,
It's like
but
sounds like something
I've not looked it up. It's Amon Zaimon Sosa, I think.
Soda,
But-
because he's always correct.
But that is
He's always got the
It's
answers.
it's like an onmyoji chant. Or
But
something.
that is a pseudonym.
Amon Zaimon.
That's a
It's like
pseudonym that he chose after he lost his face to Maniwa Ho, as we find out in the next episode.
Oh, the firebird.
Mm.
The god bird.
The Phoenix.
Didn't really think of the Pokemon. The Pokemon is also called
Yeah.
Fire.
Really?
Yeah, he is Ho. He
I
lives
think
in
it
the
just means
top of
Phoenix.
King's
I
I
House.
guess the
Phoenix.
Ho-Oh is just kind of a Japanese version of the Phoenix, but it's like I
Yeah.
think it's different. It's their own kind of idea of it.
It
Somehow
is.
they thought of
Like,
the same thing as we thought.
The
of.
Feng Huan, I think, is the
Those-
Chinese
Feng
version.
Huan.
I think that's it.
Hmm.
Of the kind of firebird, but there's a lot of death and rebirth imagery, and Maniwa Ho is. He drains life from people around him as he chooses. He can literally graft other people's arms
Well,
and
fire-
organs onto
yeah.
himself.
Birds have always been symbols of fertility because
Yeah.
they always lay eggs.
Yeah,
Do-
yeah.
do you
So
think-
it's
do
the
you
idea
think
of
the,
death and rebirth.
Do you think the Eastern Ho-Oh was it based?
It's an
on the
archetype.
Phoenix?
No, it's an archetype. It's the archetypal Phoenix.
Oh, yes.
Death
Yun
and
was
Rebirth
right.
Firebird.
Yeah.
Yes!
Very specific.
It is based on it. That's the point.
Death and rebirth is associated with seasons. Obviously, Easter is associated with rebirth and eggs.
Eggs, fertility.
The Easter Bunny,
Burn,
for
when,
some
you,
reason?
when a forest burns, all the forest disappears. However, all the ash creates fertilization for the new trees to spring up.
The
But
burning
fire is
happens
associated with
late
rebirth.
autumn, and the rebirth happens in spring.
That's true.
The
Yeah.
dead period is winter, which we kind of enter as we move past episode 8.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happens in episode 9?
Episode 9. Wait, no. Episode 9 is the one with the wooden sword. Episode 10.
More than episode 10. Yeah.
We're on episode 10 already.
So the mirror is almost this idea of projection where you see what you want to see.
Yes.
You see in the other, you see in the holy man, the older man,
Hmm.
what you are most afraid of. It's almost like confronting you with your deepest fears. And once you confront those deepest fears inside yourself, you become whole as a human.
Hmm.
And once you become whole as a human, you're able to confront the world with your sword and fight actively. However, you can't fight with the sword that you get. The sword
No.
that you get has no edge. It has no,
No blade
blade
at all.
even.
Mm.
It's just a hilt.
Hmm.
However, once you hold the hilt, you have
The blade turns
once you-
in upon the self. It
Yeah.
cuts into your psyche and challenges you, which
Togame
is
is
where the
only-
characters are.
Togame is only able to find the hilt once she comes to this conclusion within herself.
Hmm.
Only once she comes to that same conclusion
When
that
she realizes her father's final words of "I love you," then yeah, she realizes, of course, it's just here, and she takes it, and that's it. They got it.
It's very
Sword girl.
incorporating the shadow.
Yeah.
yes,
It's
for
very
sure.
that.
Well,
It is.
It's like obtusely that.
It
yeah,
is,
This
but
scene is definitely ready.
it's
I'm actually
massive.
gonna wager money
You
on
read
that.
it like the weekend before you wrote this.
No,
Before
it's in
Owari.
Monogatari. It's in
Owari
Owari
is what it
Monogatari.
is.
It's all about Ogi, who's on
Oshino
our,
Ogi,
who's on our
Suki
shelf.
Uki.
Well, he guess he rewrote it.
Yeah, he probably did, to be fair. The man reads
Reread
all
it.
sorts of shit. There's a bunch of Monogatari short stories that are basically two characters discussing a book that I guess Nishio Isin just read.
Yeah.
Like, Hitagi and I think Kaiki discuss Fahrenheit 451. Alright, fair enough.
Imagine if we made an anime review, which was just an anime. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That's basically what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's reviewing his weird psychological books.
And we'll release this anime review along with a figure, which I think is how he does it.
That's a way to win money.
Yeah.
That's a way to get your anime review out to people, because otherwise no one would read. Like, Nishio's stuff so esoteric, a lot of the way he writes and the way he presents. At least in anime, the way in which the stories are presented are very unique. You can always tell this
It's
is
not
Nishio.
esoteric.
It's
pop.
quite
It's
esoteric.
It's
It
pop
really
esoteric.
is.
It's pop esoteric, and that's
It
where
has a
his
pretense of being esoteric. It's very... The things he talks about are things that represent everyone, things that matter to everyone.
See,
it's
I
not
don't
an
know.
esoteric thing. You don't need to have previous knowledge.
No,
I don't know if
to
you're
get
right.
the deeper meaning, I feel like you need to. It's
No, it
become
does.
esoteric.
It does. You can
But
Maybe-
it works on many levels, and that's what makes it.
Maybe if
that's
I
what
was
makes
an
it very
expert
successful.
in something that he's talking about, I would read what he's saying and kind of go, you've only just kind of read it, you've
Yeah.
not understood it.
Small
This is
But-
wiki knowledge.
But I don't really understand the things he's talking about, so to me it sounds cool as shit.
Exactly.
So, basically, again, the story of Katanagatari is be an idiot, and then everything will sound cool to you.
Yes,
It's
and that's true.
And it does while you're watching things. All of it, everything that happens is like cool. Look, they're doing a cool thing.
Think hard, but don't think too hard.
If you're an idiot,
Otherwise
everything
you'll
is
die, you get
fascinating.
shot, like
Yes.
Tommy did.
Yes. Spoilers. She dies. Hard.
What was
Let's
it?
set a
Episode 11.
Episode 11!
Episode 11.
We're nearly at the end.
Guys.
Wait, we're not there yet.
Shit, I can't remember what happens before.
Maniwa Ho
Oh.
takes the sword and becomes Shikizaki Kiki.
Yes. Okay. So all
This is
the
really
mani
hitting you pretty hard,
maniwanis are all
actually.
dead. All the maniwanis are down.
Apart from
apart
two.
from two. The
Maniwa
Hoa,
Penguin
who is the current leader of the
and Maniwa Ho.
Maniwani, and Penguin, who is the future hope for the future hope for the Maniwani tribe.
He's lucky.
So
Is
they,
he?
so they
He
find
wasn't
they
in
find
that.
Penguin, and he's been cut.
It's been cut.
He's gonna
Something
die.
fierce by a
Something
katana.
fierce. We see I feel like the first blood that we see in the entire show.
You might be right, Ed.
'Cause
No,
I felt-
no,
'cause
there's puddles of blood.
Yeah, maybe.
There's abstract blood, but it's not blood in a wound.
there was
You
a
don't
point,
see
like, there was
wounds.
like episode 6. There was like the episode where they were killing. They were fighting his sister.
Yeah, seven.
Like,
Yeah.
It's no blood. I feel like I haven't seen any blood throughout this entire show. Maybe it's trying to censor it.
Well, you
Here they
don't
just
see.
like go out with the blood.
You don't see any wounds until
Yeah.
episode 11. No, end of episode 10.
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
but
but
you
you never
see
see holes
Penguin's
in people
cut.
before.
Well, you see
always
Penguin- you see
his
quite a
hands,
grotesque-
Jessica's hands just going through people's
Yeah.
bodies.
We
Blood
see-
comes out,
You see quite a
but-
grotesque wound in Penguin though.
Yeah, it's
Which is,
very
which is kind of
much.
like which kind of like taps you on because you haven't seen them before, I guess, in the show. I think I'm not exactly sure, but I didn't realize it before. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
that's a wound that kind of looks like an actual hurty wound.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to have that.
It looks fucking awful. I mean, Penguin, by the way, is just a child. He looks to be like
Yeah,
8, 10-ish.
Yeah.
he's a child with like a really dumb moveset that he can't use.
He's
Well,
got
learn how
one
to
attack
utilise it
and it's
properly.
not very good.
His one attack, he's good at not being hit with bullets,
He's
even though there are no guns or arrows. In
he's
this
a
world.
character from
Um,
Medaka Box who shows up pretty early, whose weapon set is a bunch of bouncy balls. Except he is in Katanagatari instead, and that's the only
It's
difference.
like the game Sushi Cat.
Yeah.
That's a good game.
Mhm.
Well,
Penguin's cute.
Penguin.
Penguin.
Penguin's
He's
too
amazing.
cute, and I hate him so much.
I love him.
Oh,
He's
he's
adorable.
got a little stutter going on.
Oh, do you see
Yeah.
him when he's not
He's-
got his
he's
hat
like a-
on? He's got this little like baby penguin hair.
Got a little
He
got
does,
baby
he
fluff.
does, he does. He's a good character design, but he's
Cute.
obviously there
He's gonna
to
die.
he's like
He's
mowing
there
it.
to die.
He's like, he's doing a thing where he's being cute, but he doesn't do anything. Because the two things that he could have done with his character is he was, in the end, incredibly strong.
He was, to be
He
fair.
was just like a kid.
He
in the
also
end, they
was,
do
to be fair.
neither and both at the same time, which
They
makes him
do
very
set him up.
unimpressive. And I just was like, I knew this was going to happen from the start.
They set him up a couple episodes in advance as he is potentially the strongest of the Maniwa.
Yeah.
His
That's
ninpo
what I
is
assumed.
super strong.
But it also set him up as being quite smart, because in a lot
Yeah.
of the meetings, he seemed to have all the knowledge.
Yeah.
So I kind of assumed he had more like a knowledge base in info, but it doesn't seem to be the case.
He's lucky. He can make lucky guesses, I think, is what's
Yeah.
happening there.
Well, no, he's not lucky, right? Because
Well,
the
he
guy-
wasn't lucky enough.
Emon Simon was like, "Oh, what's your skill?" I was trying to work it out. I was like, "Is it luck?" And he's like, "No, it's not luck. Your skill is dodging bullets
No,
instead."
no,
Like,
his skill
that's what
wasn't
he
luck.
said.
His luck just wasn't that good.
His luck ran out.
Yeah,
luck ran out.
yeah.
Dumb kid didn't do anything.
Yeah.
He was an
Like,
emotional
could have been
attachment
good.
within the manual.
You see
manual
him for
anime
a
that
long
worked.
time.
he was
and
he was
he's
like a trick to make you like the manhwa.
Yeah.
Because he
So
had
mean
cute
to
character
this poor
design.
Manua.
They
He's
were
not real.
nice.
He's a fucking
They were
cartoon
nice.
penguin man.
They were nice.
They're all cartoons, you fucking moron!
They were good characters.
I
They were
didn't
endearing
feel
characters
any-
too.
I
You
didn't
didn't
feel
feel
any-
anything?
Wow.
I thought that's a cute character.
You
I
don't
bet he's
have
gonna
a heart.
either die or be actually a really strong guy. And he was both and neither at the same time. I hated
You
him.
don't have a
All the way
heart.
through.
You're not a real human.
I guess not.
You're like
I like real
you're like
characters
the
instead of
household who
weird.
doesn't like Kamna.
Well,
You're like
disgusting.
Emon Simon.
I don't like. I guess I don't like vacuously kind of moe characters. I guess
Wow.
Wow, that's a strong.
that's what he
That's a
is.
strong
He
position.
doesn't have a character.
How
Not
can you
the making
watch
of
the
no one.
slice of life you like? That's all of them.
There's none of the vacuous slice. A lot of Slice of Life has a lot more character development than this show.
How could they have such? It's all action. Like, for these side
Yeah.
characters, there's so many characters in such
There
a
are
short
yes,
show.
there are, and there shouldn't be. That's a bad idea. Maybe
No,
too
I
many
feel
characters
like you're
often
expecting too
are
much
horrible
character
idea.
design from the show. Character arcs, anyway.
No, the character design's great.
You
Character
gotta,
designs are good, but character development,
you've
character
got
arcs.
to take what you're
Yes.
given and extrapolate.
Uh-huh.
As you say,
But
then-
they didn't do anything.
the months between the episodes give you time to extrapolate the reasons why the characters have developed the way they have. You've got to also extrapolate for the villains. You've got to...
Yeah. Well, I
Give
guess-
them
I
a
guess the
bit of
idea
benefit
would
of
be
the
that
doubt.
You'd think of something in your head over the month that it was taking,
Yep.
and then you'd be subverted because it never happens.
It's just like the ending of episode 11 where you're probably just fucking shitting yourself for a whole
Episode 11,
month.
the entire episode 11, you're either very confused or like really
Feeling
like
very
how
smart.
you would- yeah, or you feel really smart because
Turns out, Shichika is the final sword. Who'd have guessed? Who'd have known? Nick
He's
guessed.
gonna drop
Episode, what,
Well, he's
3?
not.
One.
he's not
Yeah.
the final sword. He's the final +1 sword.
Yeah, he's
He's
the
the baker's
13th
dozen.
of the 12
He's
swords.
the 13th of the 12. Yeah,
And
and
the
he just kind
sword,
of goes, huh, cool.
the
Doesn't
sword in
change
this
anything.
episode
It shouldn't
is...
change anything.
Which
a
makes it,
special
I quite like the
sword.
bit.
That's
because he was-
Shichika's personality.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
Kinda doesn't. You're right. Just keep doing what you're doing. But it kind of also shows that he's still in the mode of doing what he's doing for a goal that he doesn't care about.
Well, it is for goal he cares about. He's caring about Togame,
He
and
thinks
that's
about
his
it.
goal.
He thinks about it, but then it kind of makes him realize, why am I doing this? What are we even doing? Why are we collecting swords?
What are you going to do after we're done collecting these
Yeah,
swords?
they start thinking because they've got all of them but 2.
Mm.
They start thinking, and he has to kind of understand why he wants to do it, and he eventually realizes he's doing it for the sake of Togame, which is it makes sense. But I
That,
also
that
feel
happens
like,
in the previous episode. to be
yeah,
fair.
but I feel like that is he almost feels like he's lying to himself when he says that. It almost feels not genuine when he says that in the show. I don't know.
Not
That's what it
yet.
feels like.
Why? Like,
By the
It
end,
feels like
I think
he's
it's
like
genuine.
he's panicking because he needs
Yeah.
a reason why he's killing all these people. He's killed loads of people.
Quite a
dozens
lot
of
of
people.
guys at this
Um,
point.
Well, he
Why?
also goes to that
And
kind
he's
of
like, why did I do it?
psychological
You must have
backstory
done
in
it because I'm
episode
in love.
10.
Because I'm
In
in love, that
episode
makes
10,
sense.
he's always confronting this. Like, he's confronting the bandit woman from episode 3, who's
Yeah.
always saying to him, "Why do you take the swords? Why
Yeah.
are you killing people?"
Hmm.
And that's her attack against him. That's her attempt to try and
I
reason with
feel
him
like
to not take
episode
the
10 in a lot of ways is the thesis statement of the show. It's that moment where the author says, alright, this is what I'm trying to tell you. This is the moral I'm imparting about not fighting, about being a human and not a sword, not a tool for someone else. You are yourself. That is the point of view.
Yeah.
Well, it's surely the revelation for the characters. It's not the climax of the plot, but it's the revelation of the characters where they kind of become the best version of themselves.
Yeah.
Where
Shichika
they kind of
becomes human.
They
As I
truly
said
kind of
to you guys
understand
at
their
the
journey,
time.
and they kind of they now have the power to defeat the big bad at the end.
As
It's
I said
gonna
to
be
you
kind
at
of
the
bollocks,
time,
but, you know.
every card is on the table at the end of episode 10, apart from the fact that Shigiseki Kiki is a soothsayer and can see the future, which is not necessary
I mean,
That's a
to,
different reading almost of the
to
show.
understand
It's
what's
kind of
going on.
irrelevant. That
I
kind
do
of
like-
subplot
I
is
like
kind
that
of...
bit.
It
I
explains
like
a
that
lot about why the swords are the way they are.
With my
but it
minimal
doesn't-
knowledge on Japanese history, it's very interesting to see how he's like obviously like he's like playing with the actual history of Japan, and like I feel like even though I don't know that all like a lot of these like the new shogun, all these new characters, all the things that are going on in different areas of Japan are based on things that he's like predicted would happen if something else like some old history thing where he's
Yeah.
predicted something would happen.
The
something
idea
changes
of
that
his
happens.
plan
not
is
history.
basically
It's
to
very-
avert World War II. The attack on Japan that destroys Japan that he talks about
Well,
is
in this
almost
episode,
certainly in episode 11.
In this episode, they explain that he's trying to change history in order to stop the invasion of Japan that will happen in a couple hundred years.
The destruction of Japan via Fat Man and Little Boy, the nuclear attack by the US.
And the cucking of Japan's culture to the
Yeah, the
Yes.
cultural kind of.
The death of Japan in that sense.
Well, yeah, I guess so.
Japan, a
Well, it's the death of
nation
the
is a
old-
cultural entity, not necessarily
Yeah.
a political entity.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's a massive blow. Whatever.
It's
That-
the
that's-
final
that's
blow
what they
to
want
the
to stop.
historical Japan. And yeah, as you say, he's trying to stop that. He falsifies history by creating these swords, by creating this sword technique that is Kyoto Ryo that just lets history be different in the long run.
Well, it lets the swords be people.
Yes.
That's the main thing, is that people are able to
Well, he just
become
shifts the
something
power.
more
But
than
the-
just a weapon in the system.
The problem with that, of
politics.
course, is that the weapon he creates then has agency, which, as it turns out in episode 12, we find out doesn't really change the overall history, it just changes the agency of the characters themselves.
Yes. Even if you come from slavedom or serfdom into freedom, you still have that same kind of burden on top of you.
It's
Well,
the difference
there's
and
an
it doesn't
idea,
change the
there's an
nature
idea
of
of no matter how you try, the fated occurrence will keep going. History won't be changed. You might alter it slightly, you might twist it a little bit, but the eventual outcome will always be the same.
Is that the
Which kind of
difference
leads
in
into episode 12.
Episode 12, where Shichika basically ends up playing out the role that his own dad did against the rebellion against
So yeah,
the shogunate.
the end of episode 11, the beginning of episode 12.
Tagami gets shot.
Scammer gets
Oh
shot
no!
by the last gun, which is
Aemon
The last
Simon's
sword,
Entoju.
the last sword, which is 2 guns.
Well, that's
yeah.
the best kind of sword. I
It's
mean,
the
they
best sword.
realise that swords aren't that good. Let's take a gun.
It's the transcendence of sword as a notion. I mean,
But why did the
But
guns
it's an
look so
evolution
bad?
from sword.
Why did
what? One's a revolver, one's just a regular pistol.
painted like fucking.
It's
Because
cool.
it's a
They produce
Japanese
fire
person's
sometimes.
understanding of a sword, of a gun.
I guess so.
I mean,
Also
episode
interesting that it
11,
is-
you have a sword that overtakes the wielder's personality and projects Shikizaki Kiki onto them so that he can exact his own actions, his own goals via that person. But Entoju surpasses that. The 12th sword is the sword that kills swords. It's the gun that...
Video killed the radio star. Guns
Yeah.
killed the sword.
Yeah.
Yup, you're right.
It's a revolver and it's a pistol, and also they catch fire and slice for some reason,
That's
but
just
that's
cool.
just cool as shit. And Aemon Simon has these for like 4 episodes. You see them in like episode 8.
You see them very
Just
early on. As
very
soon as
briefly.
what's her face, the princess turns
Hite,
up,
yeah.
they're in the background.
Yeah.
And they mention it. So you're like,
They're
you
very
need them there.
careful not to frame them for most of the conversation until the reveal. But
Well, they are. They were there.
They are
you
there.
knew they were a thing.
Yeah.
You're like, that's gonna come up. I thought they were gonna be like the end of the swords. They were gonna be like the bane of
Yeah.
the swords. Which
Yeah.
I guess they
They
were,
are,
but
in a lot of ways.
they're saying they are apparently a sword as well.
they are the bane of Kyoto Ryo, which is obviously then the final enemy that he has to surpass to become the greatest possible sword that transcends even the thing that made swords obsolete.
Maybe that's our position now in history, is that we
Once
transcend the gun.
Togame
Yeah.
dies, he has the freedom to do whatever he wants.
All
And
of
he-
the rules that she put upon him in the first episode, don't break the swords, don't hurt yourself, don't protect me, and also don't hurt yourself for your own sake, not just for my sake, thrown out of the window.
And that's portrayed beautifully when he goes into the room and says Mendokse instead of her stupid little. Oh,
By that
you're
time,
gonna
you'll be torn to pieces.
Instead of saying that, he says Mendokse, which is
Yeah.
the one that he said beforehand. He's
Such a
no longer
hassle.
her thing. He's able to manifest his personality and himself in such a way that
Also-
he's not under her thumb and he's not linked in with her. He's not
Yeah.
like one with her anymore.
Interestingly, I feel like it's very confusing. I'm not sure exactly what it means, but the last thing that Togami says before she dies is that her last wish is that her little phrase "cheerio" will be
Resound throughout the nation.
Throughout the nation, but in its wrong
Yeah.
in its wrong
Yeah.
meaning.
That's something I want to talk to you guys
I
about.
thought that
About
was cool.
that final moment where Tagami is talking to Shichika and she says, "I'm coming up with a final plan." And she opens her eye and it's her strategist eye, the little cross eye.
Mhm. The eye which is she lost almost.
It represents her plans,
It's
her
her
attempt
it's her
to
process.
control the situation.
It's her ability to zone
Yeah.
in.
And she tells him, "I didn't really love you. You're just a pawn on the board. I'm trying to achieve my ends, and you
Bollocks.
are just...
Yeah.
It is bollocks. I'm glad that you think so. You both think so?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm so glad you both think so. I read a bunch of forum threads when this was first
Yeah.
coming out. People were so confused about this.
The forums and the
She is
YouTube-
lying
These
like a
forums are
motherfucker.
really
What you
autistic.
see from
No,
these
I
forums,
know.
what the consensus seems to be that the acid of this shit because it kind of the idea of their relationship breaks down because she reveals truthfully that she is not in love with her. She's
Her
doing
last plan.
all according to
What?
Kagan, which is kind of stupid.
bullshit.
How
Her
you
last
see
plan
that.
was to make sure that he doesn't feel really sad about her dying.
But yes, she was lying. That much should not be
Yeah.
a surprise to anyone. That was her final strategy. Shichika, go live your life. I was lying. I was gonna kill you. I didn't really love you. You were just a piece, a pawn that I didn't have any feelings for. Emotions, feelings are just pieces on the board for me.
Yeah.
People don't seem to get this.
But I feel like I think watching it in the way we watched it was quite
Hmm.
good because we got to see the episode where they're in Shogi Land,
Hmm.
where she obviously has fallen in love with him,
Yeah.
and is like they're playing almost like a cartoony kind of version of
Yeah.
love romance going on.
Mm.
Oh, there's a
That's
real
funny.
fucking...
It's funny, but it's like
Every
so much
trope
of it is
is
true.
just
But it's like-
thrown in there.
And even when, because I was looking at this because I know the twist.
Yeah.
So I was looking at even when she's away from everyone, she still plays the role of being in love with him.
Yeah.
It's like it's not. She wasn't playing like a weird esoteric kind of trick.
If anything,
Pretend
she's
that she-
lying to herself in that final moment.
Yeah.
And she's
Which
very
is-
facts and logic.
She's lying to herself to justify herself giving. Well, she's come up with a new plan. Her new plan is that I'm going to die, but I can still
Shichika
complete
can
my
live
I
on.
can complete my goal by telling this to Shichika, and that is my new plan.
Yes.
And that plan is enacted by her telling him that she didn't care. And it was all a
I'm
joke. it was all
so
a
glad
trick.
you guys both understood that because I felt like I was
Most
the
people
guy
seem
who
to
was
have not.
weird.
I don't know. You obviously don't know about this, but like a lot of when you hear about it online, people say that Last of Us is shit because of that.
Yeah, the
because
reveal that Tagami was just manipulating him all along.
Why is everyone so stupid?
I don't know.
That's the
People
real
are dumb. Anime fans are autistic. They don't have feelings. They don't understand.
Yeah, basically.
We're not real anime fans. We got hearts. We got souls. Sorry.
I've got a soul. At least.
Cool.
No heart.
No heart. But
Your blood is
no
static.
heart but a soul.
Your heart is at 110 BPM.
Ooh.
Yeah, exactly. All times.
What then?
One turn!
So then he goes to the castle of Naria and fucking fights
He fights
Everyone.
everybody.
every single sword.
What is destroyed is he's boundless, he's limit broken.
and
he's
what
in
do you
a
guys
cloud
think
sense.
to that?
He is limit broken, and now he's without the he doesn't have to protect anyone. He doesn't have to not break the sword. Is the
But
main
is
one.
he fighting
He
for
just
revenge?
fights them.
He said he's not, but is he?
Well, he's fighting. He's fighting. Is a I think the climb to the show is in Nishiosin's kind of nihilism. The show is very
Nihilism.
nihilistic by the end. He's
It's
lost
funny
it
you
all.
say nihilism because that reminds me a lot of Kanakawa from Monogatari, who I feel is very much his self-insert.
Uh-huh.
Nishio-sen's very smart.
He's a very smart
Well,
man.
But he doesn't know what he doesn't know.
He doesn't know what he doesn't know.
But yeah, no. So he's lost it all, and he's because earlier on he'd realised that his aim for living, his aim for doing all this stuff, this horrible stuff,
It's all
was
for
the
Takami.
for Takami. And once she's gone, he loses it, and kind of has this nihilistic kind of whatever. I'll just keep going.
I'm here to die.
His only purpose in life prior was to operate and carry out Togame's orders.
He was
So
a
now
tool,
he's just
a
lost.
sword.
He was a tool, but now he's a tool that's been abandoned. He has to find his own way in the world. He was already becoming a man, but this is his final step.
It's a very Japanese notion.
In the end of episode 11, the
It's
spoiler
kind of
was
almost.
now Shichika has
becoming the
become a
yokai.
sword. That was the end part of that bit. And in the second episode, he very much has, because she's died, and now he's a man.
And the Japanese
Become-
have this
Well,
idea
Well,
of
he's a man,
spirits
he's not an
in
independent
objects.
man. He's a man insofar that he's grown such an attachment to Togame, and they've become kind of a.
He's still got a lock of
okay.
her hair on his
He
waistband.
does. He does.
But are any of us independent? Because we're all at the wills of the people around us' opinions.
Well, this Japanese notion of the object that after 100 years gains sentience.
Yeah.
And that kind of comes across in Shichika. He's not obviously 100 years old himself, but Kyoto Ryo is very old. And it's gone from being a man learning to be a sword to a sword learning to be a man.
Yes.
Which is pretty well in line with the kind of Japanese yokai idea.
Well, it's also in line with correcting your previous failures upon each other and almost overcorrecting,
Yeah.
which happens a lot. Like just going through all of the different sword bearers.
And that's a Nishio-ism trope, and then some. Every character's overcorrecting for something. Like Zoko Owari Monogatari is the opposite side of all these character traits that these characters have been overcorrecting.
Yes. And Owa Monogatari is just a cop. Is very similar to episode 10, where you have the shadow as well.
Yeah.
It's all about incorporating the parts of yourself that you don't understand. This
Yeah.
kind of Jungian integration of the shadow, which is
Yeah.
crucial to Oda's work.
You also kind of get, in the last episode, you get the context of the historical kind of aspect of it, because you understand that, so the shogunate's in Nagoya now, or Owari,
Yeah.
same place. But it's, and so something's changed in the previous, because it hasn't gone to Tokugawa.
History's
Yeah.
changed, but it's
Something
still the
changed,
same.
But at the same time,
it's
they don't
basically
explain
the
it very
same
well at the
idea.
beginning. They don't serve
Yeah.
this context, and
Well, I
you don't
think
really
there
get
is-
that until much later on.
There are some
Also
problems
think
with
it's
this.
implied, and it's implied that you would know this
Yes.
because it's a Japanese show.
Katanagatari is written for a Japanese audience.
Is introduced as well. It's implied that you're meant to know him now.
It's made
It's
for
like-
a
it's like
Japanese
saying-
audience
it's like saying-
that understands what Japan looks like and will understand why
It's
and
like
what
us.
is
It's
different.
basically the same as us making a book that's based in a world where Richard III wins the War of Roses.
Yeah.
Everyone would understand in England, but no one would understand outside of England.
Yeah.
Or even like when all these books are made about Hitler winning World War II.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they'd
It's
probably
an
get that
alternate
to a good
history
extent.
book.
It is an alternate history which assumes a certain amount of knowledge, and that you have to realise it is an alternate history.
Yeah.
Like the name Owari doesn't stand out in our memory like the Nazis does.
No.
Well, Owari's it's like it's famous for being the Oda Nobunaga clan, but it was abolished, turned to Aichi.
Yeah,
That's
and
the
Tokugawa.
the prefecture of Aichi is the prefecture of the domain of Owari had.
Okay, that's why it's in Korea.
Yeah.
Not Kawasaki, some other one.
Kanagawa.
Mikawa or something.
Japanese history, yay!
Japanese history, yay! But the castle of Owari is the current castle of Nagoya,
Oh,
yeah.
which is cool. So he's obviously playing heavily into this kind of all this stuff, which is fascinating to me. I just kind of want to look into it more.
It doesn't come across until like episode 5, though, is the problem.
Yeah, and they don't really-
way later.
You don't
It's
see
very
the
obscure.
world of Katanagatari until episode 5, I think. Like, the...
He goes because at the beginning of episodes they say they're going to a place.
Yeah.
But that place is like an old name.
Yeah.
For a
Old-
real place.
Old, for the current places.
Yeah.
But they were the real old names for the real places. I was like googling them as I was going through. So like working out. Okay, this Izumo is actually it's like the eastern half of the prefecture of Tottori. And it's like a different place. They've all named them differently.
When
They're
you
all
see
old
the
names.
map in Katanagatari where they're travelling around, it is an old style map of Japan that just...
I like how
It's
they don't.
off,
They
but
keep
it's
those. They keep it somewhat non-anachronistic. They kind
Yeah.
of keep it all contemporary and
Yeah,
working
yeah.
within the confines.
Well, yeah. Because like they go to Ezo, which is
Yeah,
Hokkaido,
just the-
obviously. Or maybe not, obviously. You
Yeah,
wouldn't
yeah.
necessarily know that.
Well, if you know about the Meiji Restoration, then it says so.
If you look at the map, that's the place that they go. So.
It's cold as well.
I just like the historical aspect to it,
Yeah.
and I kind of want to research it more.
It's
I
a
feel like
cool
there's
show
more
in
and
that
more
regard.
stuff stuck in there.
Yeah.
It is a
It's
Misio in alternate history Japan that isn't much different, but it's different enough.
Mhm. But the final kind of scene is with Hisei and the Shogun,
Yeah.
and they're talking in the top tower
Oh,
of
Hitei.
Hitei. Sorry.
Yeah.
And they're talking
To
in the top-
deny. She denies.
Yes, there you go. In the top tower, in the tower of Owari.
She's promised him
And
1,000-year shogunate.
But yeah, but so this Shogun guy is kind of not really a character, but he's there, and he's
He represents the current system,
yeah.
the state of the world that Katanagatari exists within.
And so he's killed every sword. He's killed
Every sword is
and
destroyed.
he's destroyed them because his power he's basically limit broken. He doesn't have.
He's the 13th sword. You find out in episode 2 when they talk about who would win, the sword that can never be broken or the sword that can cut anything. The more recent of the two, the one that can cut anything, would win out. And that plays out in the end because Shichika cuts through every sword. They're all destroyed by the end.
And he finally reaches the end, and he kills the Shogun.
He blows him away with a final cheerio.
The final cheerio.
He truly said goodbye to the old regime.
He did.
Although
But it didn't mean
cheerio-
shit, let's be honest.
But what does cheerio really mean? Who knows?
Just got it right in the chest.
Does it mean chest? Does it mean congratulations, as she wanted to mean?
Or goodbye.
Or goodbye?
All
Yeah,
of
it was
them
all-
at
It
once.
was all of them at the same time. And then,
That's a sign of a good author, when you can make the meaning of a thing mean everything that it could mean in the final use of its use.
And so, yeah, and then it's over.
Hmm.
And he goes travelling around,
And he does make the map
spreading
in
the
the
word
end.
of
He does.
cheerio and making a map.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
With
he's
Hitei.
pursuing his passion, in a sense, because that's what he's been imbued with from his experience in becoming a man.
And he brings Hitei with him, who didn't really have much
Interesting,
to herself, but she kind of replaces the Tagami in his life.
I feel like he needs that now.
He
But in the
does.
same sense, the power dynamics changed at the very last scene, is that
Yeah.
he seemed more in control. He
And
doesn't
she
seem like
still
he just-
has the Amon Zaimon mask, which represents her previous existence as the master of the sword.
Yeah.
He still has the lock of hair that represents his existence of the sword of the master. But they still come together somehow in the end.
And she follows him instead
Yeah.
of him following her.
Yeah. Which is just nice. People talk shit about this ending, but I really love it.
I love the
personally.
ending. It was really good.
Mm.
I feel like if they just went like, oh, they got the 12th one now and it's all over, that'd be kind of boring.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's not the point.
No.
It makes sense. The point
Collecting
is the
the swords
character's
was the-
development.
It could have
It's
been
a story of
played like-
character development.
It's a story about collecting the 12 swords. Or rather, it's a love story disguised as a story about collecting the 12 swords.
Yeah.
Or rather, it's a story about the growth of an individual disguised as a love story, disguised as a story about collecting the 12 swords.
The ending looks cool, but the idea that it has of the nihilistic ending.
I feel like there's always
nihilistic?
inherent
What does it
nihilism.
say?
There's always inherent nihilism in
Is it
postmodern
nihilistic
writing.
though? Shichika finds a meaning in what he's doing. He
Does
finds.
eventually.
Come on, man.
Does eventually.
He's graduated from sword, from being just a purely reproductive organ, a phallus, into becoming a fully fledged man with
I
a
feel like you should flesh that out a little more.
No.
No, that's
the
the
phallus.
ending on that. He started
He sorts a dick,
He was just a
sorts a
phallus at the
dick.
beginning. It was just a meaning of
He already
energy
had
and
that.
power,
He
and
already
he's
had that.
graduated.
He's
When-
become a man.
If Togami would have survived, it would have been the same. He
Are you
said-
No,
insinuating
no,
that Shichika would have had incestuous relations with his own sister? Because I don't think that's true.
I didn't. What? Why? Why would that happen?
You're the one who's suggesting that it already would have been that. Shichika manages to transcend his existence.
If Togame doesn't die,
If
it's
Togami
the same.
didn't die,
If
I don't know what I'm
Tagami
saying.
doesn't die.
But I feel like Togami has to die for him to mature.
It's a
Yes.
plot point.
No, because if Togami's always there, he's always going to be subordinate to her. And for him to be, he has to run away from his mother to become the true man. He has to graduate and internalize that.
She's not his mother. She's just
She's
his wife. So
both.
different.
In an Oedipal sense, both. She's still his mother. Is almost like his owner still in some senses.
Yeah.
He has to graduate from that, and that's what his death represents.
Okay. I disagree.
Although there is a radio drama about his actual mother that has not been translated into English. Happy days, and you can find out exactly nothing about online. Yay.
No, just learn Japanese. It's easy.
Yeah. Well, that's so fucking easy.
Sit down and just learn Japanese.
Yep.
Come on, you've been watching anime for ages.
Yeah, it's kind of like sunken, right? We should probably end it on this. We've been talking for quite some time. I think it's been like
Katanagatari,
2 hours.
very, very good.
Go
It's
watch
anime.
it if for some reason you hadn't watched it yet. And
Camera
goodbye.
returns with the middle finger to throw my Switch bits on the ground.
Okay, bye!
I just wanted to.
This needs to be dealt with.
You need to be
Don't
done with
like it.
And with that, farewell.
Sayonara, hose.